everyone, welcome to the Film Freak Show Refreaked. Now, movie sequels. Am I right? I'm wrong. Guilty! But in all due seriousness, movie sequels have to have the most split reputation in history. A lot of people's favorite movies are sequels, and a lot of people say that Friday the 13th needed 12 movies. There's 12?! The point is, there's a set split between good and bad sequels. Usually a bad sequel consists of being hard to watch, continues the characters in a horrible way, or doesn't even do so, and is usually ridiculed by fans of the original, some straight up ignoring it exists. However, on the other side, good sequels usually continue the story well, give us our favorite characters, and expand their world, and most of all, feel accepted as a continuation. So, this is a combination of the good, the bad, and the son of the mask. This is the top 10 best and worst movie sequels.
I take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start melting away. Take a look at my enormous penis, and everything is going my way.
Number 10 worst, The Hangover Part 2. I was tempted to discuss the third film, which is way lower rated and a lot more hated by big critical outlets and audiences. But man, I hate this sequel. At least the third film had its funny moments and didn't feel like a straight copy of the original. May I remind you, this movie beat out Kung Fu Panda 2 at the box office. A beautiful film, right? But no, people wanted to see this instead. A lot of people's problems with this movie specifically comes from the repeats. This film has a lot of repeats, and not even creatively repeated, they just repeat everything almost word for word. And the way they justify it being different comes down to a simple name change from the first script. There's a monkey, cool, replace baby with monkey. They get all fucked up again, but this time in Bangkok, cool, replace Vegas with Bangkok. Bangkok, that's funny right there.
Did you really
The worst part about it is, it's just not funny. It's more annoying than anything. A lot more loud, obnoxious. Like, comparing to the calm nature of the first film, it's just really annoying. I prefer the first film because it felt a lot more spaced out. It's not trying to shove everything down in the first 30 minutes. And the best part of these movies, Chow, played by Ken Jeong, yeah, he's kind of insultingly sidelined here. He's legit the most consistently funny thing in these movies. I just can't get it. It's a sequel that, as someone who likes the first film and tolerates the third, really pisses me off on other levels. The Wolfpack is back, but I don't like the sound of that.
Everything is going my way.
Number 9, worst. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. This is horrible. Not just because the film itself isn't good, but it's coming off of a franchise that, thank God 2018 happened, but we'll get to that. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers is already the 6th movie in a long-running franchise. At this point, the franchise had turned 17 years old and the schlick was getting really old. Not to mention, it would be followed by Resurrection and... what the fuck is that? And what's worse is that these movies didn't end after Resurrection. Now if you'll excuse me, I gotta go die. Yeah, remember when Rob Zombie tried that shit? Thank God for 2018's movie. And we'll get to that, but man, it's hard to get through this one. Some argue that Resurrection is the worst one, but to me, this was a point where I gave up in the movies. Even after 5 films where only at least 2 of them were decent, you can see why this curse needed to be lifted.
Everything is going my way.
Number 8 worst. Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo. Did anyone want a sequel to this shit? I already don't like Rob Schneider. He's easily my least favorite part of the Adam Sandler crew, and this movie and probably The Hot Chick are the reasons why. The first film, I'll give, has its funny moments, it's already a decent idea, but everything about European Gigolo is a complete downgrade. The humor is dropped to levels of shit jokes. See, when I do it, it's funny because of the internet. We ordered sugar cookies at 3 a.m. And what you don't know is that if you order sugar cookies at 3 a.m., you become sus. Deuce Bigalow is already a horribly mediocre franchise, and Rob Schneider may be at his worst here since he got shit on by a donkey in Ridiculous 8. Honestly, this one blows. Bigelow blows. If you had any sympathy for Schneider, saying he got the shit roles and he is a good actor, check this one out. For every iconic Waterboy character, he's got about 5 Deuce Bigelows.
Everything is going my way.
Number 7 worst. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Hey executive who greenlit this shit, how does it feel to make the most decent 90s video game movie then ruin it with this?
I'm over here stroking my dick.
The 1995 Mortal Kombat movie was an okay disaster. Of the other horrid 90s films based on video games, I could forgive the cheaper effects of Mortal Kombat because it was trying with CG at the time, which again was also newer for 1995. The sequel, Annihilation, released 2 years later, is quite the opposite. Too many characters I don't care about. I stopped forgiving these cheap effects. Y'all had 2 years to improve. Where's the progress, Mansley? Imagine if I was a Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat!
Besides, I ain't got rhythm.
I don't know. There's too much for this film, and somehow it gets nothing across. A weak story, weak characters, and lame-ass effects. It's no wonder this movie got annihilated.
Everything is going my way.
Number 6 worst. Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Remember how I said there were 12 Friday the 13th movies? This is probably the worst one. I haven't seen anything past this one, but Jason Takes Manhattan has got to be the laziest in terms of sequels. Granted, the 2009 movie is worse, but I would consider that a reboot, and those are a whole other thing. And yes, these sequels kept coming out and they kept being made, but the original's not even all that great. I know there's people who believe Friday the 13th to be one of the classic slasher influences in horror, but for me, it's just not that great. And I think Part 8 is the point where I gave up on this franchise, saying I already hated the original. There's something to be said. I should also mention, I was thinking of putting Part 3, which I thought was annoying for its 3D gimmick, back when 3D pertained to... Don't remind me! Overall, if you want a solid Friday the 13th sequel, you're not gonna get it with Jason Takes Manhattan. Lazy writing, lazy characters, and the gimmick of Jason is just not scary anymore. At this point, it's become more of a joke than anything.
Everything is going my way.
Number 5 worst. A Haunted House 2. Man, Marlon Wayans, he can be funny, but geez does he do it so little. And nowhere for me is that more apparent than the literal year after sequel, A Haunted House 2. The first Haunted House, I'll give, played with the idea of Scary Movie to a point. I'll give it that A Haunted House was better than Scary Movie 4 and 5 combined with any crappy bargain bin parody movie of the time. But A Haunted House 2 spits in the face of the original. And even then, the original's not that great. But A Haunted House 2 doesn't just spit in the face of the original, it defecates the original's pants and also slaps it in the face. The humor is way too lowbrow, even coming from an internet humor-based online critic. It feels like Marlon Wayans is trying both to deviate from his time in Scary Movie and also as much to repeat it. A lot of this humor and the jokes feel like they'd be way funnier with the Scary Movie crew. I'd take Anna Faris, Charlie Sheen, I'll even take Simon Rex. But instead, we have people who could be funny that aren't given a lot of funny bits here. Jamie Presley, Cedric the Entertainer, Gabriel Iglesias. Hell, Mark Henry is in this. Don't ask why, but he's the funniest part of the movie.
You need to hang up that computer call. Hot mouth. Romantical.
Overall, it's just nothing to write home about, and it's not funny. At a point where parody was already dying, this movie made it even more ghostly.
Everything is going my way.
Number 4 worst. Grown Ups 2. Yeah, if you know my old videos, you might recall my thoughts on this one in a certain popular video that may or may not be why a lot of subscribers are here today.
Bruh.
But here's the thing. I enjoy the first Grown Ups. It's funny enough and has a good heart to it. I have to give it that. Grown Ups 2 was the moment I gave up. It made way too big a deal of some of the bits that are okay, but they can be funny. But it's mostly David Spade riding around the road in a tire. How is that? Okay, it's funny to see him in a tire, but if you're not going to do anything outside of it, what's the point? It's wildly unfunny, and a lot of the good parts of the movie, specifically, weirdly enough, Rob Schneider, are replaced with dated cameos. I kid you not, Shaquille O'Neal is a prominent part of this movie. The bus driver character isn't really funny. I mean, he's played by Nick Swartz, and I guess he's okay, but I don't know. Taylor Lautner, he can be good, but again, he's tainted by an Adam Sandler film. I call this movie an almost movie. It almost gets a laugh. It almost makes me smile. But a lot of the good-hearted family elements from the original is just kind of ruined by this film. Sandler and friends are back, but in the end, is that a good thing?
Everything is going my way.
Number 3 worst. The Next Karate Kid. Now something I should note, my family does love the Karate Kid. It's always been just a part of our lives. Saying my parents were born in the 80s, so there's no hate for the Karate Kid franchise. I'm even a fan of the continuation series Cobra Kai. That's how you do a continuation, damn it. But I digress. I know my folks aren't exactly big on this one, mostly because Ralph Macchio isn't in it. And man, is it not good. In the slightest. Like at all. Like, it's bad. Hilary Swank is the Daniel San in this case, and she's alright, but she's no Ralph Macchio. And Mr. Miyagi, God bless this man's soul. He kept up with these movies even though there wasn't really a reason to do so. I like Jackie Chan in the remake, but there's only one Mr. Miyagi. And he is a redeeming factor of this movie. The action also feels a little stiff. Like, I remember in the third film, it wasn't good, but it still felt like Karate Kid. Again, you can only do Karate Kid so much before it becomes stale. That's why they changed it up a bit in Cobra Kai, made it different. But by the fourth movie in the already dying franchise, let's just be lucky Cobra Kai happened. If you want a good Karate Kid sequel, I'd check out Karate Kid 2. It's not on the level of the first film, but it certainly did better than this stale, boring excuse of a fourth film.
Everything is going my way.
Number 2 was Son of the Mask. The Mask is a classic, Jim Carrey at his finest, the funniest of slapstick humor. I did a horrible review on it years ago, but I digress. The sequel released over a decade later, having none of the original cast and Jim Carrey being replaced by Jamie Kennedy. Finally! Son of the Mask is a sequel on par with making a sequel to Dumb and Dumber. That happened? It relies way too much on creepy imagery, boring characters, and I don't know, is it just me or does none of it feel like the original Mask? The original Mask knew how to balance out the slapstick humor with more down-to-earth verbal humor. This one is completely visual slapstick humor, and it's almost never funny. It's also scary in parts, way too scary. And it has a damn dance number. Like, okay, there was dance numbers in the first film, but there was no reason to keep it going for a near 5 minutes. I mean, if you're looking for an insulting sequel, this one tops that list. But there's one more set of sequels that I have to discuss. But before I do that, here are our dishonorable mentions. And now to our number 1. And without a doubt in my mind, the number 1 worst sequel is any of the Police Academy sequels. I mean, I get it, Police Academy, they're a spoof series, so obviously they're gonna get a couple sequels, but a decade's worth of sequels, now you're just pushing it. The original Police Academy was decent at best. It was trying to capitalize on the airplane naked gun thing, and only sometimes worked, but legit, from 1985 to 1994, we not only got 6 sequels, with them each getting worse and worse with each one, but we got a TV series, an animated series, and apparently an 8th film coming out soon. Why did these movies keep going? Why did they keep getting made? It's not like these comedy movies surrounding cops wouldn't be funny on its own. Look at stuff like Reno 911 or Beverly Hills Cop or 21 Jump Street. It's nothing about the source material, it's about the idea behind the source material. For a movie that already is not that great, I can safely say 1985 to 1994 now has a new name. The era of the horrible Police Academy sequels.
Take a look at my enormous penis. Saying everything is going my way.